these Anunnaki and these pyramids and these ancient temples and so forth. Like, who built them? Did humans build them or did aliens build them? And my answer to him was simply this: according to the ancient text, not according to Billy Carson, according to the ancient Egyptians, according to the Kemetic people, the Dogon tribe, according to the Aboriginals, the indigenous Aboriginals of Australia, according to the indigenous peoples of the Americas, North America and South America. We're talking about people that have been here for a very long time, inhabiting these lands for a very, very long time. People came to this planet according to them, in all their records left behind, and still in their current traditions. Today, people came here from another planet, other planets, other star systems, and began to teach human beings specific things, one of them being building techniques. And so by having a master architect come down and teaching these building techniques and these advanced technologies, people then learned from them and began to build these structures. It wasn't that aliens said, you know what, I think we want to do all the work and build all this stuff ourselves. They really passed down the information to people, and then people began to build them. And what's interesting is, the further you go back in time, the more incredible and sound the structures are. The closer you come to the current era, the more dilapidated and poorly constructed these temples and so forth are. So the more ancient, the better. The newer, the worse. Doesn't make any sense. Why is it in deep antiquity, tens of thousands of years, everything was way better construction-wise than what we have here today? As the generations went on, the knowledge of how to create these super megalithic constructions was lost over time. And so over time, we lost our knowledge until right now, when you see our construction, a tornado comes through and everything is gone. A hurricane comes through, everything is gone. Back then, not even earthquakes could tear down these structures. So beings taught human beings, and human beings built those structures based on the teachings and under the instruction and guidance of these beings. And then over time, as these beings were long gone, over time, the techniques either got shortcutted, got lost, different catastrophes and calamities happened on the planet. Again, more of the knowledge getting lost and forgotten as records and information and instructions and diagrams disappear, and everything is going off of just memory and hearsay. And so fast forward into the future, you don't have the great structures anymore. We can barely build a building that can last 10, 20 years without maintenance happening every single week. Pretty interesting. If you don't believe me, go into an old neighborhood where you got foreclosed houses. Go look at a house that's been foreclosed for about 5-6 years and see how it looks. It looks like it's about to collapse. In just a few years, it can't even withstand a few years of being untouched. So pretty interesting.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.
In my research into all of this about Enlil, he claimed himself to be omnipotent and omniscient. So that's what made it into the Bible. You know, God's supposed to be omnipotent and omniscient, all-knowing and all-seeing and everywhere at all times. To me, if you take away the spiritual, magical aspect of that statement and analyze that statement by understanding technology, how can I, Billy Carson, right now today, become omniscient and omniscient? How can I be everywhere all at once and know everything at once? There's an easy way for me to do that today. Number one, I got a smartphone. This smartphone can give me everything, tell me almost everything I need to know, right? And then the second thing is, the smartphone is connected to the internet, which is connected to satellites. And those satellites I can log into satellites all over the world, and I can see what's going on anywhere on the planet right now. I can tap into camera systems, public access cameras, right now from my phone. My car, I drive a Mercedes-Benz. I have a Mercedes S-Class. I always keep an S-Class since 2002, one of the most incredible cars for everyday driving because they're so safe. Actually, there's an app in the car, built into the car, that will let me see, you know what, let me see what traffic looks like on A1A before I go that way. I can actually physically see the cameras. I can turn them on. I can see live camera action in my car, cars going back and forth on the highway, and see which highways are crowded, which highways aren't crowded from my car. Give me that omnipotent, omniscient ability. Between that and my smartphone, I now can see and know everything and be everywhere at all times. So you see, when you take the spiritual, magical sky daddy wizard with a magic wand out of the picture and analyze it from a technological standpoint, you begin to realize that we're talking about a guy who had technology. This is how he knew about this. The Sumerian tablets say he had something called the Tablets of Destiny. And these Tablets of Destiny would have communication capability. They would have capability of seeing images on the screen that let him see things happening on the planet. He can even transmit information back to his home world through these Tablets of Destiny. And he had control of some type of weapon through these Tablets of Destiny, which is why people tried to steal them. And they actually got stolen a few times. And it was said whoever had control of the Tablets of Destiny had literally control of everything in this galaxy. Pretty interesting. And so he had the Tablets of Destiny as well. These crystal tablets that can display all this information. What kind of tablet can display information today that looks like a crystal tablet? Well, it could be your iPad. It can be your cell phone, right? These devices that we have right now, very similar. And so on my device, I was in here earlier, it was getting hot in this room, and we finally figured out which controller, which app it was to control the air conditioner in the room. We tried for the whole time we were on the podcast. Elizabeth was sweltering in heat because there's so many lights in here. That's my new studio. I'm sitting in my brand new studio, and we got all these lights and stuff, right, to get the right lighting and so forth. And so it was hot, but we couldn't figure out the correct app to use. I was on my crystal tablet trying to activate a device that would cool us off. Now, to a less technologically advanced person that would be in this room feeling that heat, and then all of a sudden they see me going to this crystal tablet, and then the room gets cooler, to them it's magic. To them it's absolute magic. To me, it's just an app and some technology, right? This is basic stuff. I can control my thermostat from my phone. But to a person who has never seen a crystal tablet, to a person that's never seen an central air conditioning unit and the vents that bring the air in, to them, I accessed this magical realm, and I manifested cool air in the room because I'm a god. And so this is what religion is. Religion is nothing but cargo cults. That's all religion is. I don't care what religion it is, it's a cargo cult. Advanced beings were witnessed doing things that people couldn't understand, and they passed it down from generation to generation. 2-3 generations later, it's nothing but a deity now. And this deity has powers that are going to bless my life. That's what it's all about.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.
But this all-seeing eye, it's still watching. It's watching everything we do. Our good, our bad, our ups, our downs, the whole thing. Our wars and everything else is all being monitored and watched. And why are they watching us? Well, if you left beings on a planet that had the capability of becoming a spacefaring race one day, and maybe even finding you, wouldn't you want to know when they got to the point where they can launch? And if they were able to get out into FTL is faster than light travel, and find us or find other places that we inhabit, we would want to know if they're taking weapons with them. Because if they're taking weapons, what kind of weapons, how lethal are they, and can we defeat them? It's always it always comes down to strategy. It always comes down to a strategy and foreknowledge, or intel is what they call it in the military field. Intel. You need intel, good intel. Good intel will keep you on top for a very long time. That's why the United States is on top right now. The United States is on top because of good intel. They have intel, spies, technology, satellite tech that they use, hacking tech, all the stuff they use to stay on top. They know what's going to happen before it's happening in a lot of cases. And when something happens and they don't do anything about it, trust me, guys, they let it happen. If something happens and the United States doesn't do anything about it, that means they actually let it happen. All right, that's the other side of the whole coin. But these beings have that eye up there, and they're still watching, and they know everything we're doing, and they're waiting to see if we're going to advance to a species that's going to become enlightened to travel in space, or are we going to maintain the dark side before we travel in space? Are we going to take weapons with us, and how lethal are those weapons going to be? And based on that, maybe the deciding factor whether they have to stop us or let us go.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.
And so what was happening there was these Anunnaki people, they were arguing and battling each other using human beings as the warriors. And sometimes you would see that the angels, which are really the aliens, would get involved in these battles as well and go to war with the humans. They had to put on helmets and breastplates, and they would have to get swords, and they have to go fight. These same angels that the Bible talks about were having with women and homosexuals. They were getting drunk. They were doing partying, all this crazy stuff, right? So that was in the Bible too. So these were not angels. These were aliens. These were these Anunnaki people. You're working and fighting with human beings for whatever reason. They always wanted to have control over more land, more resources. And these people, these aliens, kept fighting each other using human beings as chattel. If you look into the Indian Vedas, you find that there were these huge flying cities. And these huge flying cities, in my opinion, are UFOs. They were flying cities with literally thousands of people in each one of these vessels. And these vessels would go to war above land against each other in plain broad daylight. Well documented. These people were warring people and always fighting over more resources, more land, because why? Earth was a breakaway civilization for them. And it was always a consistent battle over control from the very first time they got here. The very first time, the first one who landed here was Alalu. Alalu killed the king on Nibiru and then fled to Earth. And then from Earth, he negotiated back with them a deal that he would have kingship and he would keep his life on Earth as long as he gave them the location of some of the resources and was able to transport resources back to Nibiru, which were greatly needed there. So this story is much bigger than you even think. You don't even come close, most people, to understanding where all this information comes from and what the true information is really all about and what the underlying story is really all about. Who is doing all this killing? It's not the creator of the universe that you think. I believe it. Everybody thinks it's this creator, this grand creator, this grand artist. I believe that. But guess what? In that book, that ain't it. That's a murdering, a sadistic, psychopathic, narcissistic murderer. That's what that is. And unfortunately, that has really crept into the DNA and the epigenetics of people on this planet and has us beating that same garbage into every single one of our generations over and over again. And I'm here to try to stop it. You can believe in a creator of a universe. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand that that is something that doesn't even exist inside this universe. You're not going to interact with, you're not going to walk up and shake hands with this entity. You're not going to hang out and go have a beer at the bar and hang out with, it's like Jesus did. You're not going to, have casual conversations about people. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, guys. It's just not going to. There's no book. I've gone through over 1,000 books. That includes scriptures, texts, cylinder scrolls, papyruses, you name it. There is no book on this planet that actually, and from ancient texts, that says this is the actual real God. They're all talking about multiple gods with an S, and these gods, they all turn out to be regular old people that put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you and me.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.
Talking about manifesting. When you look into the ancient cuneiform Sumerian tablets, you start seeing something very interesting. You start seeing that these beings that the Sumerians called the Anunnaki, you can find that name in the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation, a roughly almost 8,000-year-old text that was deciphered in the 1800s, long time ago. This is well-known, well-vetted, peer-reviewed information that has made it into even anthropology classes in universities. So again, this is not off the dome makeup stuff. Like, I always come with the receipts. Anybody can find this out. You find these Anunnaki beings, and you find that these Anunnaki beings, which really were the Atlanteans, they're mentioned in texts all over the world. They're the Anak in the Bible. You know, we were grasshoppers in their eyesight. These were big men. They were called men of renown. You know, these people were known around the entire planet. They were the pantheon to the Greeks, but the original Sumerian pantheon prior to the Great Flood originated out of Mesopotamia. After the flood, they reset themselves in the land of Kim. And then they became the Netiru, all right? The gods that came from heaven to earth and turned mud into a kingdom. These people went to Cambodia and built Angkor Wat. They went and built Teotihuacan in Mesoamerica. They developed civilizations all over the entire planet, these people. Now, what was interesting is, and what was actually great, is that they had a lot of text left behind about them. And there were scribes that would write, scribes of these gods. They called them gods, but they weren't gods with the capital G. They were gods with the lowercase g. Some of them, unfortunately, masqueraded as gods because, I mean, hey, they come to a planet, there's people here. The people see that they have technology and advanced knowledge, and right away, what do? They bow. Oh, this must be God. It's called a cargo cult. We know that because we've seen cargo cults before on this planet. When the U.S. military went to the Bikini Atoll and those islands out there in the South Pacific to do nuclear missile testing, what did they do? They arrived at the shore of some islands where there were natives that had never seen, yet not even a white man, yet alone any other man other than themselves. And all of a sudden, they've got airplanes, they've got tanks, they've got these boats that run with power. They come on shore with all these canisters and luggage and everything else, and these gigantic steel suitcases with supplies on the inside. And they started giving some of this stuff to these natives, clothing and shoes, trying to make them feel good because they was about to blow their whole island up, basically, trying to make them feel good. We're going to have to redirect you guys because we're going to tear this whole place up with this nuclear test. And, you know, we're going to give you some trinkets and give you a little bit of food, give you some candy bars, and then we're going to kick you off your home. That's basically what happened. But long story short, when they saw these soldiers, they began to worship them instantaneously. After the soldiers left and all the testing was done, still to this very day, in some of those islands, there are cargo cults dedicated to the gods that came from the sky with the cans of Spam and chocolate bars. They even tattooed USA on their chest. I did a whole lecture on this, a 3-hour lecture. It's available on Forbidden Knowledge TV with the pictures of these natives. They tattooed USA on their chest. They took reeds and sticks from the bushes and made them into what would look like, semi-automatic guns and rifles. They even took trees and reeds and branches and built themselves what looked like airplanes with the landing gear and everything. And they would pray to the landing gear and look to the sky for hours on end, waiting for the sky gods to return with more cans of Spam and chocolate bars and stuff and some food and some clothes. It's cargo cult.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.